Hi boys and girls, it's Tuesday already, and this craziness, who would have ever thought that we would be doing this as long as what we are. But at least you get to see me a teeny bit, and I pretend like you are in front of me. I miss the giggles and I miss the laughs as I'm reading, because I just kind of read silently to myself, and Charlotte's not much at doing any of that. But before I get started with Double Fudge, I just wanted to say thank you so very much to all of you that are continuing to turn your work into me. Ella and Kaden and Mario and Zoe and Brenly and Angel. Thank you so very much. I appreciate everything. I know some of you have some things that you're still getting to me, but I appreciate all the hard work that you are doing. Thank you so much. It makes me feel normal to look at some of your school stuff and kind of pretend like we were back at school, or pretend like none of this craziness is happening. But anyway, on with chapter 5, which I hope you like. If we left off, you remember we met Richie Richest, Fudge's new friend, who he never seems to have any trouble finding friends at all, but yet he has one. Oh, and Uncle Feather, if you remember correct, isn't talking. Wonder why. See if we can find out any more on that. This chapter is chapter 5, and it's called Bye Bye Sue. Jimmy asked me to come down to see his new place. I convinced Dad to take me on Saturday afternoon. The downside was we had to bring Fudge and Tootsie with us because Mom was at work. She says her new job with Dr. Julie is the best she's ever had. Remember, Dr. Julie is the dentist with 2 first names. As soon as we were through the turnstile at the subway station, turnstile being what you would walk through if you were at a pirate game, maybe at the zoo, Kennywood, I don't know if they have one. If you've been to Disney World, it's kind of where you kind of push your tummy up against that little arm and it kind of goes down and around. That's a turnstile. We got lucky and found seats together. Sometimes the subway cars are so crowded you have to stand squeezed between strangers, like sardines in a can, as Grandma would say. Personally, I hate the idea of being compared to a sardine. The smell reminds me of cat food, and even though Grandma says sardines are good for your bones, probably cat food is too. It wasn't until we got off the subway at Spring Street that I noticed Fudge was wearing just one shoe. On his other foot, he had on his yellow and black striped bumblebee sock. "Where's your shoe?" I asked him. "What shoe?" "The one that's not on your foot." "Oh, that shoe," Dad said. "Put on your other shoe, Fudge." "I can't." "Why not?" Dad asked. "I took it off to itch my foot and now it's gone." "Gone?" Dad said. "Yes," Fudge said. "That was one of your new shoes," Dad told him. "I know, Dad." "And now you've lost it?" "I didn't lose it. I know where it is. It's on the subway." "The subway?" Dad said. "Yes," Fudge said. I should have convinced Dad to let me take the subway to Jimmy's on my own. There's no such thing as a simple trip downtown with my brother. He turns everything into a major production, and boy don't we know that. Dad spotted a transit cop and waved her over, calling, "Excuse me, excuse me." "Can I help you?" the transit cop asked. "Yes," Dad said. "I'd like to report a missing shoe." She looked surprised. "A missing shoe?" "That's right," Dad told her. "Fudge, show the policewoman your other shoe." "How can I show her if it's missing?" Fudge asked. "Show her the shoe that's not missing." Dad was definitely losing his patience. "Oh, that shoe." Fudge held up his foot. The transit cop whipped out a small notebook and jotted down all the information. Black with silver trim, child size, lost on the A train on Saturday, September 14th. She looked at Dad. "What time would you say?" "Somewhere between 2 and 2:30. Dad told her somewhere between 72nd Street and, well, here. When she was done taking notes, she closed her notebook and shoved it back into her pocket. "We'll do our best, but don't count on getting it back." "I have to get it back. Fudge said I need it for school." The cop shrugged. "I told Mom I needed 2 pairs of shoes, but she wouldn't listen." "I don't blame her," the cop said. "With what shoes cost nowadays, I have plenty of money." And he pulled a wad of Fudge Bucks out of his pocket and waved it around. "You keep those for an emergency," the cop told him. "This is an emergency," Fudge said. "You want my advice? Next time, keep on both of your shoes. Even if my foot itches?" "Especially then," the cop said. "Otherwise, you're going to be kissing more than one shoe goodbye." "Bye-bye, Sue," Tootsie sang, blowing kisses. The transit cop did a double take. How did she know my name? Your name is Shoe? Fudge asked. No, it's Sue. No way was I going to tell the cop my sister can't pronounce the sh sound. Finally, I got to Jimmy's. The streets in Soho are narrow and paved with cobblestone. It's kind of like a fancy stone. It's the really old part of the city. The buildings used to be factories, but now most of them have stores or art galleries on the first floor and lofts upstairs. Dad said he'd be back for me in an hour and a half, and I told him to take his time. The Fargo's loft is a huge open space with an old wooden floor and a pressed tin ceiling. Pretty cool, huh? Jimmy asked. You want to know how many windows we have? 16. You want to count them? I believe you, I said. They were gigantic. Floor to the ceiling, so they went all the way to the floor, all the way to the ceiling windows. Know how high the ceiling is? Jimmy asked. He didn't wait for me to guess. 16 feet. Want to measure it yourself? That's okay. I can see it's really high. I looked around. You could set up a bowling alley in here, I told him. Yeah, Jimmy said, or a basketball court. You could blade or flood it and we could play ice hockey, Jimmy said. Ice hockey? Gotcha, he said, laughing and sticking a finger in my gut. I hate it when you do that, I told him. I know. That's why I do it. Come on. I'll show you around. Stay right there, Charlotte. There wasn't much to see. Frank Fargo's canvases were stacked against one wall. There were 2 paint splatter work tables, old coffee cans that held brushes. It smelled good, kind of like the art room at school. There was no regular furniture, but that was no real surprise, since they didn't have any before they even left. And at the opposite end of the loft was a kitchen. There were no doors anywhere except the bathroom. And right here, Jimmy said, standing in front of an X that had been chalked on the floor, we're going to build 2 bedrooms, one for me and the other for my dad. And he stopped for a minute to look out the window, and then he looked back at the floor. Oh yeah, and we're adding another bathroom so we don't have to share. I wouldn't mind having a bathroom all to myself instead of sharing with Fudge and Tootsie. At least Fudge uses a toilet. Not that he remembers to flush half the time, but it's better than a potty. Not that Tootsie actually uses her potty for anything except for a place to sit, but someday she will, and I'm getting a bunk bed, Jimmy said, so you can stay over. We might even get a dog, too. A dog? I was surprised. Mr. Fargo never really liked Turtle, and Turtle isn't crazy about Mr. Fargo either. What kind of a dog? A Yorkie, I think. A Yorkie, but they're so small. I know. I tried to imagine Jimmy and his father with a Yorkie, but I couldn't. So how about a game of sock hockey? Jimmy asked. Sock hockey's a game that we invented. Yeah, sure, I told him, kicking off my shoes. Jimmy passed me a broom, grabbed another for himself, threw down a box of Jell-O for a puck, and the game began. We've never had such a great place to play. You could run and slide from one end of the loft to the other without worrying about knocking over lamps or furniture, and not just because there weren't any, but because the place was so big. We were totally into our game when we heard banging on the door. Uh-oh, Jimmy said. He wiped his sweaty face on the bottom of his t-shirt and went to the door. Who is it? He called. This is Goran, your downstairs neighbor. He spoke slowly and in an accent that I couldn't place. Still there, sorry. Don't open it, I whispered. But Goran is our downstairs neighbor, Jimmy said. I met him this morning. I shook my head. Don't unlock the door. My dad will be back in a few minutes, Jimmy called through the locked door. Actually, he had no idea when Frank Fargo would be home. So what's going on? Goran asked from the other side of the door. All that pounding, it sounds like the ceiling's going to cave in. How am I supposed to concentrate? Sorry, Jimmy said. We were just, moving stuff around, I called, finishing for him. Oh, Goran said. I thought maybe you were playing sock hockey. Jimmy and I looked at each other. If we invented the game, how could this pie possibly know about it? We'll try to be more careful with our cartons, Jimmy told him. Fair enough, Goran said, and I'll try to get back to my work. When he was gone, Jimmy and I let out a whew, and we put down our brooms. By the time we got back from Soho, Mom was home. How was your day? She asked. Very nice, Dad told her. We had a good time, didn't we, boys? I had fun at Jimmy's, I said. And I had fun on the subway, Fudge told her. So did Tootsie. I guess that makes it unanimous, Mom said, because I had a good day at work. Yay! It's unanimous, Fudge sang. That's when Mom looked down and noticed that Fudge was wearing one shoe and one fringed moccasin One fridged and beaded moccasin. Where did you get that moccasin, she asked. From the store, Fudge said. The man took it right out of the window. It was a real bargain. Right, Dad? Dad nodded. But where's the other shoe, Fudgy, Mom said. Fudge didn't answer. Dad put his arm around Mom's shoulder. It's a long story, honey. Really long, Fudge added, laughing. The next day, when the transit police still hadn't found the missing shoe, Mom went back to Harry's, this time without Fudge. She bought another pair of shoes, the exact same ones he got the first time. So in case Fudge grows a third foot, or Charlotte's 8, he'll be all set. With my brother, nothing is impossible. And that is the end of chapter 5. I miss you tons and tons. Only 3 chapters this week. I'll see you again tomorrow for Mr. Money. Ugh. Bye.